Hey, I'm Ron Gallagher, and this is Caleb Turntine, and welcome to Inside the Lines Live. Glad you could join us tonight. Caleb, we got a big slate of games coming up, big difficult slate of games over here in Tallapoosa County and Coosa County. What about over there for you?
Well, we've got a couple of rivalry games and a couple of new games, but it's all about region play this week. And one of those tough games that you mentioned for your teams up in Tallapoosa County is actually happening right here in Millbrook. That's where I'm at tonight here at Foshee Henderson Stadium. I'm actually a little bit off. I'm over on the practice field, so I can, seclude myself over here. But Benjamin Russell is here as they face Stanhope Elmore as the two teams kick off region play. A couple of key injuries, which we'll get to here in a second, for both teams. But this is, no matter what happened in those first two games, this is where you can reset the season. Neither of these two teams have actually won a game on the field. Stanhope Elmore has a win under their belt, but it was a forfeit win to Selma, and they lost their Jamboree game to Opelika, then they lost by 6 to Prattville. So both teams are really hungry to actually find themselves on a good side of the scoreboard tonight.
Right, and Benjamin Russell played Clay Central last week and played them really tough actually throughout the whole game. Clay Central, if you're not aware, is the #1 team in 5A and has the back-to-back state champions. So it was a tough game. Benjamin Russell actually was winning 14-7 at one point in the first quarter. And then one of the injuries that you're about to get into here in a second is kind of the reason why they kind of fell off.
Yeah, quarterback Carter Smith, he's out here not dressed with the rest of his teammates, and I think that's pretty clear that he's not going to get the go-ahead to play tonight. Benjamin Russell is warming up a couple of different quarterbacks, but it looks like it's number 4, Spivey, who is warming up as the #1 quarterback behind the #1 center there. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust their offense, how they play. But if you're asking me, going up against the Stanhope Elmore defense is not how you want to break in a quarterback. So, it was already going to be tough, even if they had Carter Smith there. I imagine it's going to be even tougher for Benjamin Russell to get an offense going and have a consistent offense going against this Mustangs defense.
Right, and Carter Smith, it's not a serious injury. They're just kind of taking precautions with him. It was hurting him to throw a little bit, so they're just kind of taking it easy on him. And so they're going to go with Elijah Spivey, who's their best wide receiver, and kind of a guy that they always just want to find a way to get the ball in his hands. He's their deep threat. He's just big and fast. And credit Coach Smith, for making that move, because he told me this week we're going to have to find ways to get it in his hands, and what better way than just give it to him as the first player under center every single time. And the emergence of one of their running backs last week, their backup running back, it really helped them, establish a run game that they're going to try to be more confident with and go forward. It's going to be a hot one tonight. We're not thinking about getting rained out over here. I don't know about over there.
No, it's I didn't have to pack my umbrella this time for the first time this season, so it's kind of a good turn. But then you get out here and you're in the sun a little bit, and you're like, oh man, I kind of miss that. But hey. I'm not going to complain about it. If we stay dry, I'm feeling good. This is football weather. That sun's about to dip behind those trees. This is just a Friday night in Alabama. This is football right here.
Well, the Benjamin Russell defense actually made some strides last week. After giving up 31 points in the first half, they only held the #1 team in the state to 6 points in the second half, and that was led by Najee Brooks in the middle, along with Gavin Vickers, who was my TPI player of the week last week. An undersized guy compared to his other 300-pound teammates, but he's high motor, doesn't stop, always going, played until the last whistle, and was a big part of them only getting 6 points. Had a sack, had a couple of tackles for loss that were drive killers for the balls over there. And so the linebackers stepped up a little bit, and they played man-to-man, and so they're not scared to go up and play you tight, and they trust their players to make those plays on the back end if you're going to throw it on them. What is Stanhope Elmore's game plan going into this game, do you think?
Well, I think they have to be able to pass the ball more. The last two times these teams have met, last year was 12-7. The time before that was 19-0. Neither team have really had a strong offensive showing in this game the last two seasons. Defensive struggle. But I mentioned this before on the show, but Stanhope Elmore has a more multi-dimensional offense this year, and they have to be able to use that. Get the ball in the air, get it to Teddy Harris on the outside. He made a couple of big plays against Prattville. He should be able to do the same thing, but it's just about getting the ball through the air, because you have to open up the running game if you're Stanhope Elmore, and if you can't, if everyone's just focused in there on the running game, you're going to have problems against Benjamin Russell defense.
Right. So who do you think is going to win this game, and what's the score? Do you think?
Well, I've talked about all year how much I like St. Belmore, and honestly, even losing to Opelika and Prattville, it almost reemphasized my belief in them because of how well they played in those two games. Specifically, the second half against Prattville, they didn't give up any points to Prattville in the second half. They outscored them 10-0. They just couldn't come back all the way, and that's a really, really good 7A team. This defense is going to be without starting safety Aslan Williams, who got hurt last week. But they have so much star power on that defensive side of the ball that even with a guy as talented as Aslan Williams, they shouldn't be able to miss out on too much with the guys that can fill in. You might see Carter Harrison shift back a little bit more to play coverage. You're going to have to rely a little bit more on Jacory Williams on the outside in coverage, maybe a little bit more man defense. So I just really think that because of me being able to name multiple guys who can take in on one of their star players and defensive captains in his role, I think that shows you the depth of this defense and that they really can limit an offense that, is without their best quarterback. So I think they really can start limiting the Wildcats, and I think it starts getting out of hand. I think that, once they get off the field quick, Benjamin Russell's defense could tire out a little bit. I think my final score that I had put in my preview, I had Stanhope Elmore 35, Benjamin Russell 16.
Going a little bit higher scoring than I was going to think. Like you just said, all the star power on both sides of the ball for defense. I think it's going to be, and that's kind of been Kevin Smith's MO since he's been at Benjamin Russell, has been defense. I think it's going to be kind of similar to the seasons past. I'm going to go with 14-12 on this one, Wildcats. I think that they get just enough done with backup Elijah Spivey and just throw the other team off just enough, not really preparing for Elijah Spivey, having been prepared for Carter Smith all week. Moving on.
I think if that happened, I'd probably enjoy a close defensive battle that comes down to 2 points a little bit more than my predicted score. So I'm fine either way. I'm good with your prediction. That sounds like fun to me out here.
Right. Speaking of tough area opponents, Central Coosa is going to be taking on Laverne. Laverne is one of the top-ranked teams in all of Alabama, and a real tough outing in the Cougars' first game, having not played in their first two because the other teams forfeited to them. Central Coosa coming off of a win in the last time they were on the field, in the last game of last season. I was there. It was the first time that they had won in 3 years, so it was real exciting for them. Because of that, participation is up huge this year. He's got 10, 12 more guys than he normally did, than he did the first couple of years. Brett Thomas over there. He's got more athletes this year. They're kind of lacking in size in the middle a little bit, but they make up for it over on the skill position areas.
Yeah, Laverne is no joke, though. That's not someone you want to welcome into a season for your first game. Not for anyone, not just Central Coosa. I wouldn't want anyone to have to start there.
Right. In Central Coosa, they've struggled in the past, and it's been from lack of participation. But, I think if they coming out and getting a win tonight, it's going to be real tough. But if, they're able to pull it off or even look competitive, I think the program is showing that it's turning a curve and going in the right direction. And, maybe participation will be up even more next year. And, it's just size that they're lacking. Like I said, if they are able to get some bigger kids in the middle to come, and the ones that they do, they actually have a couple good kids that footwork have blown me out of the water with how they played. So it's going to be a tough outing for them tonight. I'm over here at Horseshoe Bend. They're taking on Fayetteville, the Wolves over here. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Horseshoe Bend loves to run the football. That's been their MO. They won the wishbone. Jeremy Phillips, that's just kind of how he is. He's a grinded out kind of guy. He wants to control the clock, kind of limit your possessions. And again, kind of like Coosa, for what Horseshoe Bend, what they lack in the middle, they more than make up for over at the skill position with Holt Tidwell and I'm sorry, they're slipping their names are slipping right now. Cole Johnson and anyways, they like to run the ball a lot, and they have guys that can make big plays. They had over 300 rushing yards in their first game. Last week, lost by 1 point at the end of the game. They showed fight in the second half. They were down 13-0 in the first half, and then ended up losing 13-12. So they didn't give up any more points in the second half, and so that's a good showing for them. And then also we've got Dadeville taking on Montgomery Catholic. Montgomery Catholic, one of the best teams in all of 3A, played Pike Road that first week, and Pike Road is one of the best football teams in Alabama. They've got a ton of talent over there, and even though Montgomery Catholic let them go on a 41-0 run to win the game, Catholic learned a lot from that. They're going to come out and they're going to be looking for blood. And Dadeville coming off a big win last week against Elmore County. And Elmore County is a run-heavy offense, and they're a really good football team over there. They got some big kids. They got some athletes over there. So it was a real impressive win for Dadeville. They love to kind of do it like over here, like Horseshoe Bend, just grind it out with Roger McDonald's new I formation that they're running over there. And, they have a 4-4 defense. So them stopping the run is their MO, because that's what most high school teams like to do, is run the ball. So they're prepared to stop for that, and they're also prepared to limit your possessions and just kind of grind it out with the two backs they have over there, and Christian Nelson and Javante Hawley. And Dadeville's got a tough test. That's one of the better teams in 3A, and like I said, the Catholics want revenge. They got a lot to prove. They got a lot they want to prove, and it should be a fun game. But it's going to probably be a low-scoring game. What do you think?
I think Dadeville's going to need it to be a low-scoring game. I don't think Dadeville can get into a shootout. And like you said, they want to grind it out. It's easier said than done against the Catholic defense. Tallahassee kind of went into a game against Catholic last year that I got to see similar style. They wanted to grind it out. They wanted to go slow. And they did. They controlled tempo for the most part, but Montgomery Catholic was still dominant in a 28-7 win. It doesn't even have to look dominant on the scoreline, but Catholic was, up from start to finish. They limited Tallahassee, and I could see it playing out that same way. Dadeville wants to limit those possessions. No matter how far they get behind, they want to control the game, keep themselves in the game, until the end. But I don't see it happening. I think Catholic's too good of a team. They were going to be too good of a team when they came into, if they stayed in Class 4A. And then moving down to 3A, they got, even better per se against the competition that they get to face this year. And I think they're probably front runners in this region, which might give Dadeville a good chance to kind of measure themselves on how they want, to measure themselves against the goal of getting to the playoffs, trying to get one of those top 4 spots. Because if Catholic is the best, measuring yourself against the best to start the season is a good way. I just don't know how easy it's going to be for them tonight.
Well, Dadeville's defense was really opportunistic last week, getting 3 or 4 turnovers, and they capitalized off of that. So, and the defense is definitely the strength of the Dadeville Tigers, and that's what they're going to have to ride to have a chance against that powerful Catholic offense. And Catholic is no joke, and we all know that, and so they're going to have to bring their lunch pail tonight. We're going to go on a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute.
How does a team work? A team works together. And it's no different from the census. It takes all of us to improve the future of our university and our state. I'm Bruce Pearl, and I took the 2020 census. Can I count on you?
And we're back. Caleb, I understand you got some more games going on down there. Tell me what slate of games you got going on there. It's not as tough as the ones we got, but still, it's no joke. It's with the start of region play coming up.
Yeah, for sure. And 2 of them are actually going to be going up against each other. And obviously, if I could be in more than one place at once, I would want to be over in Eclectic tonight. Or one of them wanted to be a Thursday night game, so I could cover both of them. But Hopeville is traveling to Eclectic to face Elmore County. They're not used to opening region play against one another, but they are very familiar with each other. Holtville just ended a 8-game losing streak, Panthers, last year with a 35-14 win. A lot of that was on the ground. They did a lot of good work and just wore Elmore County out, which happened a lot to the Panthers last year. Now Elmore County has bigger team, has different players. It's going to be an entirely new game, but I think it's going to be an entirely new game for both teams. It should be really interesting because Holtville coach Jason Franklin talked about how they very much have a different offense than they have in the past. It works differently. They're very multiple in formations, and I don't see them relying as much on the run game in this particular matchup than they did last year. So it's certainly going to be a different matchup, but it's still going to be Holtville Elmore County. You're going to have a ton of passion out there. You're going to have people getting mad about calls one way or the other. You're going to have people yelling and screaming. But I think it's going to be a good game. Both teams, I think, are going to really be fighting for one of those number 3 or 4 seeds in this region for a playoff spot. No one wants to start 0-1 in region play, and getting that win, these two teams could easily end up in a tiebreaker with each other. So this is a really, really important game, even though it comes to the beginning of the season. But it's a region game, it's a rivalry game, and it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be keeping up with it very closely while I'm over here at Stanford.
Well, I talked to Coach Cantrell at the end of last week's game at Elmore County Daysville, and, he was real upset with all the turnovers that they had. And he said, we pride ourselves on holding on to the ball because we are such a option quarterback keeping type that because we do trust the guys to make the right decisions and hold on to the ball and not give away those turnovers, and on your own side of the field that, just give away. That's just giving away points, So, he said that they just need to get back to their grindstone, working on blocking up front, missed assignments, a few here and there that really allowed guys to come through. That's what made kind of the option game a little unpredictable for them, and that's why they did fumble. The guys weren't ready for Dadeville to be in their face that quickly. So it should be an interesting game. Holtville is a really good team. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that Holtville actually had 5 takeaways in last week's win over West Blockton, so that's certainly going to be they want to focus on that every week, obviously, but seeing how Elmore County has put the ball on the ground this year and knowing what they've been able to do in the takeaway department, they really feel like they can make that an issue in this year's game.
Well, I think that last week humbled them a little bit after their first win week against Moody too. They jumped out to a 27-7 win over there, and they were probably feeling themselves a little bit, and so now they realize, hey, we're a good football team, but we have some work to do to continue to get better. Who do you have winning that game? I know that's kind of a hard one for you to pick, and you're kind of caught between a fence and a hard place, but
yeah, I think I like Holtville, and they've had road woes over the last couple of years, and every time I feel like I like them, then they go and honestly put together a really bad performance on the road against a region team. I think that starting with Elmore County, this is no strike against Elmore County, but starting in the region play against Elmore County might actually help Holtville, because moving up to Class 5A, that's obviously a tough thing to do. So if Holtville had to come out and start with a Clay Central, start with a Towson, start with a Sylacauga, that's different. You don't know too much about them. It's a more difficult task on paper. They know Elmore County, though, so I think that the familiarity of the situation, these players have been there, they know what's happening. I think that'll help them try to get over some of those road woes. I think Elmore County stays in it, but I think Holtville ends up winning by a touchdown.
Good call. What other games you got going on down there?
Another big one, obviously, with Wetumpka, who I have not mentioned yet. This far into a program, that's a little bit odd. They're hosting Helena in their region opener. They're back at Hohenberg Field. Helena is 1-1. They're an interesting team. Their win was against a Dallas County team that was never going to test them, really. But their loss was to a Chelsea team that really, really limited Helena's offense. Helena scored 3 touchdowns in that game, and 2 of them were special teams touchdowns. So, obviously that's going to be a focus for Wetumpka. They have to be able to limit those special teams, big plays. And honestly, Wetumpka's kickoff defense has not looked great this year, so that's definitely something that they'll have to keep an eye on. But at the same time, Helena I don't know if they have the firepower on offense to keep up with Wetumpka's offense, especially the way it looked last week against Tallahassee. I think Helena's defense might be a little bit better than Tallahassee's, and obviously they're bigger, can have more depth to match it, but I think Wetumpka's coming in with a little bit more confidence, and if you know anything about Wetumpka over the last 3 years, it's been all about momentum and how they carry momentum from one game to the next, especially on the offensive end. So I expect that to continue, and I think they can get the job done. It's all going to be about a fast start again for them this week. If they can do the same thing the way they started out against Tallahassee, Wetumpka might end up running away with this one.
Yeah, with Wetumpka, you just never know what they're going to be. Sometimes they play up to competition that they shouldn't, and sometimes they play down to competition that they shouldn't. So, that they're an exciting team to watch. And this year, I kind of have a weird feeling, like a good weird feeling about Wetumpka this year. They just have a good balance and have a good little thing going on down there. Helena can't catch a break. They're going to have Wetumpka this week, and then Benjamin Russell will be hosting them next week, and that's probably where I'll be in Benjamin Russell's first home game of this season. What other game you got going on there?
A little bit more about Helena. The last one is Edgewood. They're having their home opener against a Banks team. Banks, who is in their first year of AISA football. They were playing 8-man football, and they go from 8-man football to AISA, and they switch to a veer option offense. So it's very interesting with the air raid that they go to in the 8-man, and they come in and have a veer option offense. But Edgewood coach Chad Michaels said that they have a guy that is all over the place with his option. He can hit the edge, and he can go off. He had a 93-yard touchdown run last week. I think it was one of 4 touchdowns he scored last week. So, and this is a team that has they scored 43 points in a win and 40 points in a loss. So Banks can put up points, even though running the option. They're not going to try to slow down the game or anything. They're going to go for some big plays, and Edgewood's going to have a tough task stopping that run.
Yeah, the triple option, you kind of live and die by it. Sometimes it just works amazingly, and sometimes it just doesn't. Edgewood, they're back. They're, I just like Wetumpka, I kind of have a belief about them as well that, they're going to do some good things, and that they're making strides towards getting that program back to where it was a few years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to wrap it up there. Be sure to tune in next week, Inside the Lines Live at 6 o'clock. I'll probably be at the Benjamin Russell Helena game. I'm not really sure what Caleb is yet, so y'all keep an ear out for us, and be sure to listen to us during the game. Be sure to look us up on Twitter and follow the hashtag TPI Preps to follow us in all the other games that are going on in the area. And you guys have a blessed weekend, and be safe on this extra long weekend. Have a good one.